Well, a very good morning, everybody. Welcome along to Donington Park for what will be the opening rounds coming up for you of the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Fuels. We've got 3 races for you to look forward to today. Originally timetabled just to be 2 races today. There should have been a race yesterday, but because of some delays on circuit and incidents, that race has been carried over to first thing this morning. Bright blue skies here at Donington Park, some cloud, but a bit like yesterday, it was rather breezy. Still very breezy today, nearly 30 kilometres per hour, and because it's only 8 degrees, it really does feel rather chilly out there. So when the drivers head towards the circuit and do their formation laps, one of the key things they'll be needing to do is trying to build some temperature into not just the brakes, but also their control Pirelli tyres that they'll all be heading out on towards. So 3 races to look forward to. After this, then the Ginetta Junior Championship will be supporting British GT, as it will do for most of this year at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. And remember, Ginettas are 21 years old, the Junior Championship this year. They celebrated their 20th year last year. But things have changed for this year because whilst it's still the Ginetta Junior Championship, the organisation of it nowadays is now under the Stefan Rattel organisation, SRO. So they are under the same umbrella as the British GT Championship. And that's not just the juniors, that's the GT Championship and the Academy have all moved under the SRO umbrella. So it's a very, very full grid of cars. 28 cars took to the circuit in qualifying. That is going to be a record for the first ever round of the Ginetta Junior Championship. We were expecting 29, but 28 we have got, but that still is a record. You could see that the assembly area there is rather full, and the youngsters aged between 14 and 17 years of age are keen to get out onto circuit and stretch their legs around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit that we're on. So it's the full 2.48 mile configuration, so it will include the Melbourne Loop, which you can see there, the downhill braking area into the Melbourne Loop, and then you come back up the hill again and in towards the off-camber left-hander at Goddard's to complete the lap. This grid for the first race is based on the qualifying times that were set in the qualifying session yesterday. The second race of the weekend that we'll see is based on their second fastest times from qualifying, and the third and final race that's timetabled to take place just before 5 o'clock this evening is going to be based on the finishing positions of race number 2. So there's plenty of good racing coming up, and the qualifying format for Ginetta Juniors that was introduced a few years ago always makes things very exciting indeed, because you only get 3 flying laps in qualifying. 2 of those laps count towards the grid positions for race 1 and race 2. So if you mess one lap up and just run a little bit wide or pick up a track limit or miss a gear or something doesn't quite happen, then it really puts you on the back foot for the remaining 2 laps. And what we did see yesterday was there were a few cars that lost one of their lap times in qualifying. Something like 7, 8, maybe even 10 cars lost at least 1 lap time. A couple of cars lost 2 lap times. And 1 car, unfortunately, lost 3 lap times because of exceeding the track limit. So they'll be hoping that they can stay within the track limits, particularly yesterday in some of the support races that we had here at Donington Park. It was the new sensors that have been put in through the Fogarty S's, through the left and the right kink, particularly the right-hander as you come out of the Fogarty S's. Those sensors are only just beyond the curb line, and there were several cars yesterday that picked up time penalties through the S's. It's still blustery out there. It's still breezy. The spectators wrapped up and ready to go. The cars are ready to go as well, and we'll see as to who might come out as the first victor of the year. Now, our racing have managed to get a lockout on the front row of the grid. We'll go through the grid shortly, but Louis Goff has qualified on pole for the first 2 races of the weekend. His teammate from R Racing, Max Murray, is alongside, and R Racing are very much the team to beat, or have been in the last few years in the Ginetta Junior Championship. You look back through the team's roll of honour, and they have won 5 of the last 6 teams' championships. So R Racing are the team to try and beat. But that's not to say that the likes of Elite Motorsport and Pace Performance and some of the other teams we've got out there, MDD, aren't all going to be trying to mount a challenge to grab some wins at least this weekend, if not throughout the championship. So the Hyundai safety car is bringing the cars out onto what will be the formation lap, and as this fantastic grid of 28 cars makes their way out onto the circuit, we can guide you through the grid, which saw a very competitive qualifying session with 8 cars, first 8 separated by less than a second in qualifying. I think this is the sighting lap, so this is the lap that's out, and then they'll form up on the grid, and then they will do their formation lap. So it gives the drivers a bit of an opportunity to get out there. It was bright and dry for their qualifying yesterday, if memory served me correctly. We did have some changeable weather at Donington Park, particularly in the morning yesterday, but by the time the Ginetta Juniors had headed out onto circuit for their qualifying session, it was dry. So they are venturing out onto a circuit that is probably broadly similar to we saw yesterday. So there they come, lining up on the grid. And you can see that all of the team members and the officials and the marshals are all ready to receive them. Final few bits of words of advice for a championship which sees, as we say, a record number of cars on the grid. And I would say probably it'd be interesting to find out whether it's a record number of rookies for the opening round, because there are very few drivers that are not classed as a rookie on the grid. I think there's only 4 drivers that aren't classed as rookies, and rookies are those drivers who, prior to the current season, this season, have competed in less than 3 race weekends of Ginetta Juniors. So most of the drivers, they might have raced 1 or 2 races in the past with Ginetta Juniors, but they've not done many. So most are classed as rookies. We shall have to wait and see as to who is going to mount a challenge. There's Max Murray. That's the man that will start on the outside of the front row of the grid, down towards the tail end of the field. There is Anousheh Mafanlio at the wheel of the number 33 car. He is lining up on what will be the last row of the grid. 27th was where that particular car qualified. The last of the qualifiers is Oscar Stockley King, who was qualified at the back and is one of, again, of a few drivers that is also eligible for what is called the freshman category, and that's for drivers who've not competed at any national karting level or are new into motorsport. Then you're classed as a freshman as well, so you can be a freshman and a rookie, depending on your levels of experience. So everybody is fully lined up. It looks as though the countdown is commencing. The cars will be making their way out onto their final formation lap in advance of this 20-minute race, round 1 of the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship. And as the cars head off the grid, we can guide you through the way that they line up, and that, remember, is based on their fastest times from qualifying yesterday. It is going to be Lewis Goff that lines up on pole position, with Max Murray, his teammate, sitting alongside. So that's an all-R Racing front row of the grid. It's an all-Elite Motorsport row 2 of the grid. Daniel Oliver has got Jacob Ashcroft for company. As we head on to row number 3, that is where we see Jesse Phillips. He is partnered up with Harrison McKay. And then the next row of the grid is row number 4. Harry Bartle, who returns to the championship this year. He's one of the few drivers that has experience, alongside Noah Young. Then it's Melvin Kalustian at the wheel of the Red Bull liveried car, the number 5 car, lining up on row number 5 alongside Riley Cranham. And then as we move on to row number 6, it's Devon Hagelin that has Henry Cameron, another returning driver, for company. Next up is Josh Watts, another driver that we saw out in the championship last year, alongside number 36, which is Sebastian Leisch. And then row 8 sees Addison Smith alongside Jorn Helder. Then, as we move on to the next row of the grid, which is row number 9, it is Kai Vish and Bailey Doughty, before row 10 is comprised by Vladislav Tomanchek and Dominic Darling. Vicky Farfus is next up on row number 11 alongside Henry Carter, and then it's Andrew Robinson and Ethan Brass that line up on row number 12. Row 13 sees Pierce Wade line up alongside Samuel Delgado, and then it is going to be on the final row of the grid. It is Anicio Mefanmelo alongside Oscar Stockley King that lines up at the tail end of the grid. So that's the full 28 cars that we've got there. Didn't look as though there were any gaps on the grid, and therefore that is a record. Qualifying times, Max Goff qualified on pole in a time of 1 minute 54.529, so he was about a quarter of a second quicker than Max Murray that lines up alongside him, and Max Murray was equally about a quarter of a second quicker than the car that was 3rd quickest, which was Daniel Oliver. But thereafter things got a lot tighter, because Daniel Oliver was only a few thousandths quicker than Jacob Ashcroft, who was only a few thousandths quicker than Jesse Phillips, so it was all rather close thereafter. But the key as ever in Ginetta Juniors, with their 100 brake horsepower sealed engines, it's all about trying to stay in the tow, stay in the lead pack, and then roll your sleeves up, maybe with 5 minutes to go. And we saw great examples of that last year when Rocco Coronel claimed the championship, in that he was quite content to sit there in 2nd place or in that lead pack, and then with about 5 minutes to go, he would then try and make his mark and make the break and try and pick up the lead of the race. So as long as you're there or thereabouts for the first 15 minutes, that's not a bad thing in Ginetta Juniors, because you can utilise that hole in the air that's being made by the cars ahead and then properly slug it out in the final few minutes of the race. So they're just completing their formation lap now, and then we can look forward to what will be our opening race of the season, our opening race of the day, and the first of 3 that we'll have today. Race 2 coming up around about just gone midday, around about 10 past 12, that's timetabled for, and race 3, the final race of the day, around about 5 to 5, it's due to go green. So final few rows of the grid just coming into position now. Beautiful sunshine glinting off the cars, making it very difficult to pick them out at distance, but certainly that black and grey car with its purple flashes of Louis Goff sitting there on pole position, the all-grey car of Max Murray, his R-Racing teammate alongside. Then it's the yellow and black car of Daniel Ashcroft, and then the of Daniel Oliver and Jacob Ashcroft in the orange and black car, his teammate from Elite Motorsport, that lies alongside. There's one marshal just, I think, chatting to one of the drivers towards the tail end of the field. And is that a problem there for what I think might be Ethan Brass, possibly? Door is open, which suggests that the marshal isn't happy at the moment that everything is good to wave the green flag and get the race underway. So there may be a delay to this start. And again, you can still see that door is open. I think that is Ethan Brass. It's down towards the tail end of the field. It will be on the even-numbered side of the grid. And therefore, it might be Samuel Delgado or Ethan Brass. So 24th or 26th position. Difficult to tell from there. But the marshal now, I think, is going to pop the flags down. And we're going to see the car, we're going to see it pushed out of harm's way. Door is open again. One marshal trying to assist, but no others at the moment coming over. So I'm not entirely sure what the problem is there towards the tail end of the grid, but that certainly probably means that is... So I think it is Samuel Delgado that is the cause for concern at the moment. Marshall's chatting to driver still, so the start will have been delayed. That probably means we'll have another formation lap after this one. So already a delay to the race, which they, in theory, should have happened yesterday anyway, but other delays, not Ginetta Juniors, but other support races that are here this weekend, had incidents out on circuits, and there were red flags and there were bits of clearing up to be done, and all of those knock-on effects of delays from the very first qualifying session to the very final race all the way throughout the day. The lunch break was much later than it should have been, and it did mean that we carried this race over to today. So revs are rising, we are going to get the race underway, and as the lights go out, it looks as though it's a good start from Max Goff from pole position. Max Murray moves straight away over to defend second place, which means that Daniel Oliver has to slot himself into third place. He's trying to carve the door open, he looks one way, looks the other. Around the outside tries the orange car, that will be Jacob Ashcroft. So as they all turn their way through Redgate Corner for the first time, the record number of cars all, I think, make it through the first corner. Yep, absolutely, they start to charge their way downhill through Hollywood and down through the Craner curves for the first time. Louis Goff keeping it as an R-Racing 1-2 at the moment, has a little breakaway in the early stages of this one. They slide their way on what are still Colparellis round through the old hairpin for the first time. Max Murray still in second place, but he's feeling the pinch a little bit as everybody's queuing up behind him in the early stages of this one. You can see the lead advantage that has already occurred for our race leader Max Goff. In second place is for Louis Goff. Max Murray is there in second place. Daniel Oliver having a little look though as they went up towards McLean's corner that time through, and he's made it through, so he's up into second. Down to third goes Max Murray. Everybody, I think, still at this stage has avoided any contact with each other. It's been a nice clean start to the race so far as they start to head down the exhibition straight and in towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's for the first time, with Daniel Oliver under pressure for his newly acquired second place, but not quite close enough is Max Murray, so he has to slot himself back behind once more. It's Harrison Mackay that's there in fourth position, and fifth place looks as though it's championship returnee Harry Bartle who sits there in fifth place. He might gain a couple of places on the brakes here going in towards the Melbourne hairpin. He's trying around the outside in the number 73 Pace Performance car. A little bit of tyre squealing from the Pirellis, but again, everybody close to each other, but good, clean, fair racing at this stage, and we are side by side, not just for second and third, but for fourth and fifth as well, as Harry Bartle sends one up the inside of Harrison Mackay, and because the door is open, also Jesse Phillips trying to squeeze through as well. You You can see all of this squabbling behind, just what's happened to Louis Goff. He's away, and at the end of the first lap of racing, a very un-Ginetta Junior-like, 3.1 seconds is the advantage. So everybody wanting to be in second place. Harry Bartle going for third, nips up the inside of front row starter Max Murray, who now drops off the potential podium places in the R Racing grey number 17 car. So he's now down into fourth position. So lap number 2 underway. Best bet for all of those cars behind is to now try and work together. It sounds easy, but they'll all want to be squabbling away. But try and work together and try and get back up onto the coattails of Louis Goff, because if you squabble, you'll just slow each other up more, and Louis Goff will disappear into the distance, I'm afraid, because he's already the best part of 3.1 seconds up the road after just one lap of racing. Good opening lap from Harry Bartle as well, from 7th on the grid up into 3rd position. There goes through the Red Bull liveried car of Melvin Kalustian. We saw the Red Bull car driven to the championship by Rocco Coronel last year. Scott Kim Lindblom drove a similarly liveried car as well in the championship last year. You can see that he's fighting away with Noah Young, I think that is at the moment. That's the black and the pink car of Noah Young. So with the leader disappearing up the road, Daniel Oliver will be hoping that he could bring Harry Bartle with him. Elsewhere down through the order, you can see them just staying within the confines of the circuit. Noah Young looking to try and attack the car ahead of him, which is Josh Watts, I think. The black car with the orange flashes to it will be the number 22. But the front runners already down at the Melbourne hairpin, ready for the completion of lap number 2 at this stage. Accelerating their way back up the small hill again, which brings them up towards the braking area for Goddard's. Very easy to run wide at Goddard's as the track drops away on exit, so make sure you probably apex late, try and straighten up the apex as well if you can. Get on the power nice and early and carry all of that momentum down the Wheatcroft straight. Lead advantage has climbed to 4 seconds this time through. It's a new fastest lap of the race on the first flying lap to the race leader, 1 minute 54.759. And for Louis Goff, he can really just afford to control the race at the front now, just let everybody squabble away at the back. Noah Young losing a place there at Redgate Corner. That is a place lost for him. That's Jacob Ashcroft that has gone through. They'll be fighting away for 9th and 10th. Jacob started 4th, but is now back up to 9th, having dropped down to the very bottom of the top 10, albeit Noah Young's going to return the favour, I think, down at the old hairpin, and if the doors open, then Devon Hagelin might go through as well. He can't quite, in the number 8, make it through. So that's a good fight down towards the bottom of the top 10 and just outside. And that won't worry Louis Goff, who is all of the time just pulling away from what is a good fight still for 2nd and 3rd place. Daniel Oliver still feeling the pressure of Harry Bartle behind, who we did see some good performances from last year. Harry Bartle didn't always have the luck, Harry Bartle, but could be one to watch this year. Another year of experience under his belt, understands the car more, still with the same team as well. And that bodes well for him as one of the 4 drivers that aren't classed as rookies coming into this weekend. And he's trying for 2nd here, looking to try and squeeze his way up the inside. Daniel Oliver lets him go, sees him coming, isn't going to defend it, and is now going to sit behind and see whether he can allow Harry Bartle to tow him round for a lap or 2, whilst also watching his mirrors, because Max Murray in 4th place, the all-grey car, is now beginning to close back up again once more. He's going to try round the outside at the Melbourne hairpin, tries to get the undercut on the way back out, but in the end just sits right behind the car that's there in 3rd place. Jinks out from behind, heading in towards the braking area for Goddard's, draws himself almost alongside, and again here he's going to try and turn in a little bit later, see whether he can get the undercut. They're all just kissing the curb on the apex. Running very slightly wide is Daniel Oliver, but it's still 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then finally we get a little bit of a gap back to the 8th place car, which will be Josh Watts over the start-finish line at the wheel of the number 22. So 3 laps completed. Fastest lap of the race still with our race leader Louis Goff, who did not improve upon it last time through. He's about 0.2 of a second slower on lap number 3 than he was on the opening lap of the race, the first of the flying laps. Down in towards the old hairpin. You can see bouncing over the curbs there Daniel Oliver, who clattered the marker board on the inside of the curb. That's unsettled the car very slightly. It's allowed Max Murray to close ever more on him in 4th place as they head up towards the braking area for McLean's. Max Murray takes the usual racing line in, see whether he can get the undercut on the way out, which would afford him the inside line for Coppice should he wish, but no, for the moment he seems content just to sit behind, again just using all of the road on the way in towards Coppice. Carry as much momentum as you can in these cars. if it's going to lose a bit of speed, let it scrub off almost through the corners. Just touch the brakes as little as you possibly need. And in these cars, which don't have huge amounts of power, just 100 brake horsepower, sealed engines, then it's all about momentum. Again, Max Murray looking to see whether he can attack. He's got an elite motorsport car ahead of him. He's got another one behind him, which is going to be Harrison Mackay. Harrison looking to try and prise the door open on the run down in towards the Melbourne hairpin. The door is open. He's there. He's alongside. And is he going to go through? Yes, he does. Can anybody else follow him through? Well, Jesse Phillips is trying to. And then you've got Melvin Kalustian at the wheel of the Red Bull car as well. So there might be another couple of places potentially lost here for Max Murray if he's not careful. Melvin Kalustian looking to try and make it 3 wide up the inside. So late on the brakes, the unloaded wheel locking, but he's got the job done. He's stopped the car. He's avoided contact and places gain there. Melvin Kalustian started that lap in 7th place. He will finish it in 5th position, taking both of those cars on the run in towards Goddard's. So 4 laps now completed. Still 12 minutes of the 20 remaining. Melvin Kalustian having gained places, now coming back under attack as you would expect from Max Murray that sits behind. 2 places lost for him on that lap. And he's not quite at the tail end of the queue yet, because Jesse Phillips, another one of his teammates from R Racing, sitting directly behind. Working their way through the old hairpin. The quartet of cars then starting to head round through Schwantz Curve. At the sharp end, Louis Goff still leading. Harry Bartle has a bit of breathing space now as well. Daniel Oliver in 3rd, equally as much, has at least a few Ginetta lengths. And there is another place gained by Melvin Kalustian, who nips through at the inside of Harrison Mackay on the run in towards McLean's corner. But as soon as you gain one place, the problem is you come back under attack from the driver that you've just taken it from. So he's at the front of the quartet now. But he's now got 3 cars queuing up to try and place him a position further down through the order. You see him hugging that left-hand side of the circuit, trying to protect the inside line in towards the Fogarty S's as best as he possibly can. And there's therefore no opportunity for Harrison Mackay to try and re-attack. The exit of the corner looks as though he's almost bump drafting him this time as they push each other along. And they're going to remain, I think, in single file order, are they, as they head in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. Slightly wider line taken in by Jesse Phillips. I think we've had our first pit visitor, and that's the 47 that's in. That's Dominic Darling up on the air jacks with change of front right tyre by the look of things, or inspection going on to the front right corner of the car. Jesse Phillips nipping up the inside there of Max Murray. So the 2 R Racing teammates swap order there. Max, who started on the front row of the grid, dropped down through the order in the early stages, clambered back up again, but now finds himself back outside the top 6, down into 7th place. And all of this squabbling behind has allowed Louis Goff, our race leader, to now open up what is a 5-second lead, 5.016 seconds after 5 laps of racing. He was quarter of a second quicker than anybody in qualifying. He's been on average a full second per lap quicker in this race so far. Melvin Kalustian in the Red Bull car, feeling the pressure. Harrison Mackay sitting right behind, desperate to see whether he can grab any opportunity that presents itself to try and work his way back into 4th position, which is being occupied by Melvin Kalustian currently. Nose to tail as they head round through McLean's corner. Good fight going on just behind them. Josh Watts, and I'm afraid out of the car. We have lost Dominic Darling, so whatever the problem was, it is retirement in the first race of the season for Dominic in the Performance 1 machine. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th still together as they head down the exhibition straight, which means that the top 3 are getting away. Louis Goff, Harry Bartle and Daniel Oliver, leaving these 4 cars all to try and squabble away at this stage. And there might be a change of order there, because Jesse Phillips gets a good run coming out of the Fogarty S's, and he's going to sneak through up the inside of Harrison Mackay, heading in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. Dives on the brakes, slots his way through, gains the place, and now the number 24, Harrison Mackay, will be desperate to try and make sure that he doesn't lose a further place to Max Murray, who is going to be desperate in the number 17 car to try and get himself back inside the top 6 once more, having started on the front row of the grid. He closes right up onto the coattails under braking. As over the start-finish line comes our race leader, number 4, which is Louis Goff. He's no longer got the fastest lap of the race. Bit of debris there just on Redgate Corner, so something has happened. That might have been what brought Dominic Darling into the pit lane, possibly. There's a couple of bits of debris just there. New fastest lap of the race has gone now to Jesse Phillips, number 26, setting the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 54.602 is the fastest lap of the race. And that lap from our race leader, Louis Goff, was about half a second slower than Harry Bartle in second position. So the lead advantage is coming down with 7 or so minutes to go. Big sideways moment, and 1-all through the gravel trap. That looked like that was Harrison Mackay who was through the gravel trap. Yes, it is. The number 24 car rally crossing its way back onto the tarmac. And that is going to drop him down through the order. He'd just dropped to 6th position on the previous lap. He's going to rejoin, I would have thought, probably even outside of the top 12 by the time he gets back onto the circuit. Noah Young wheel-to-wheel with Josh Watts. Josh Watts has the inside line heading up and towards Coppice Corner. They almost make it 3 wide, actually, as Jacob Ashcroft is able to wiggle his way through. And I think there's another car there that has gained good advantage as a result of that one. Try and see as to whether they're going to remain 3 wide as they head down the straight. They are still 3 wide. They're surely going to have to get back in towards single file order. One driver I thought was going to make good progress there was the number 8 of Devon Hagelin. He has to shortcut the chicane by the look of things. He'll have to ease off the throttle so he doesn't gain an advantage, and that means that a couple of cars rattle past him. So that's going to drop him now, I would have thought, outside of the top 10, top 12 at this stage. 3 wide going in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Be careful not to trip over each other. They all just about managed to do so. And as ever in Ginetta Juniors, 21 years of racing, it's been like this really. Unbelievably competitive championship that's brought some great drivers through into whether it be touring cars or British GT or international sports cars, single-seaters for some as well nowadays. It really has got a fantastic list of alumni over the 21 years. And that's just the main championship. It's the same when you look through things like the Winter Series as well. So Noah Young, the lead of the train, just going up towards Redgate Corner, then a small gap. There is Devon Hagelin, who is fighting wheel-to-wheel with Henry Cameron. Henry, one of the drivers again that returns to the championship this year. Both of them running for Elite Motorsport. In fact, there's 3 Elite Motorsport cars absolutely together there, because the other car is going to be recovering Harrison Mackay by the look of things. And I'm afraid contact down at the old hairpin and pitched into a spin and into the gravel, I'm afraid, is going to go Josh Watts. And the other car into the gravel. He was in the gravel on the previous lap down there, as well as the number 24, which is going to be Harrison Mackay. Henry Cameron also had an off as well, so that sort of shuffled that order there. And that's broken up the pack a little bit, but the squabbles still continuing for those that are left as well, which means that Melvin Kalustian now is the man who is having to try and hang on to 4th place, as Josh Watts rather frustratingly walks away from his stricken car in the gravel trap. So with 5 minutes to go, that for the moment is being covered by localised yellow flags down there. Great fight for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. More offs at what will be Coppice Corner, and try and work out who that was. I think that was possibly Andrew Robinson, the number 6 car, who was running outside of the top 20. So we'll try and pick up on where he comes through, but it looked like his car. So Melvin Kalustian, last time we picked up, was at the lead of this train. Jesse Phillips has gone through. Now Max Murray is trying to go through. Up the inside, tries to sneak Daniel Oliver, and he's going to make it stick as well. So they're all still busy battling away. And now it's quite an important battle, this one, because this is going to be for the final spot on the podium. So this is 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all together, down towards Redgate Corner. They fan out, they go back towards the left-hand side of the circuit and try and take the normal racing line in. Daniel Oliver's going to try and work his way around the outside of Jesse Phillips, who pushes him a little bit wide on exit. That will slow his exit speed, and that brings once more Melvin Kalustian back into the mix at the wheel of the Red Bull car. But there's no overtaking down through this section of the circuit because of those yellow flags down at the old hairpin, so have to be careful. You cannot go past the car until you've got to the green flag. You also need to be careful about track limits as well, and one of those cars that needs to be careful is Jacob Ashcroft. Let's just have a quick look at what happened in towards the braking area down at the old hairpin, and it was just slightly too late on the brakes for Riley Graham, who clattered into the side of Josh Watts and pitched Josh Watts, I'm afraid, off and into the gravel trap, and others having to take avoiding action as well. And you can see the frustration of Josh Watts as he walks away from the car. So 3 minutes of the race still to go. I think we probably know who's going to be on the top two steps of the podium. Louis Goff is on for a lights to flag victory at this stage, and Harry Bartle in second place has made that his own since coming up from 7th on the grid. But the final podium spot is surely going to be one of these 4 cars here, heading in towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's. Just breaking away a little bit from them now is the 3rd place car of Jesse Phillips, so it could just be 4th, 5th and 6th that are busy battling away, because Jesse Phillips seems to have broken the toe almost on those behind at this stage, and they need to roll their sleeves up. There's a locked brake there from Max Murray. Just a squeal of the Pirelli tyre as he dived on the brakes. The wheel stopped rotating. You could hear the squeal. He's desperately trying to hang on to what will be 4th position. Melvin Kalustian has been really good on the brakes actually up at Goddard's corner, and again so late on the brakes, up the inside of Daniel Oliver, who runs very wide on the exit of the corner. 2.5 minutes to go as they head over the start-finish line, so this will be their penultimate lap of the race this time through. And our lead advantage, which sort of was 5 seconds at the highest, it dropped down to about 4.5. It's back to 4.6, so it's being beautifully controlled by Louis Goff in the lead of the race. So he's just driving within his limits at this stage, not pushing the car too much, and if he has to give up a few tenths here and there, that won't worry him. Still all the way down through the order. That's the good thing about Ginetta Juniors. There's always somebody to fight with. Doesn't matter whether it's your first year or whether you're one of the more experienced, there's always somebody to fight with. About the only person that hasn't had anybody to fight with is our race leader, Louis Goff, because it all happened really on the first lap. When you're leading by 3 seconds at the end of the first lap, you've already broken the toe on the cars behind, and as I said at the very beginning of this, the idea is stay in the lead pack, try and stay in the toe of those at the front. And well, for Louis Goff, this is just the perfect start to the season. Still another lap to go after this one though. Harry Bartle is 4.6 seconds away. They matched each other for pace through the first sector. Harry Bartle was slightly slower through the second sector, so the lead advantage might just climb a little bit on this lap. Equally now in third, Jesse Phillips looking ever more secure in 3rd place, because the 4th and 5th place cars of Max Murray and Melvin Kalustian are now rather focused on squabbling away as to who wants to be 4th at this stage, and they're not quite close enough to that podium spot at this stage, which is the final podium spot still being occupied by R Racing's Jesse Phillips. So up towards the conclusion of the lap and about to start their final lap of the race, and news just reaching us that there is a 5-second penalty for Melvin Kalustian. The number 5 Red Bull car has picked up a 5-second penalty for track limits. It's the second driver that's done so, because the other car that picked it up a few laps ago was the number 46, as I mentioned, which was Jacob Ashcroft, who started on the 2nd row of the grid and is now running 7th on the road. Difficulty in Ginetta Juniors is if you pick up a time limit, because the pack is so tightly bunched, you know, add 5 seconds to your race time, and that doesn't drop you 1 place, it could drop you half a dozen, because it is such a competitive championship. So 10 seconds to go, the clock will be at 0. Louis Goff is on his last lap of the race. There's still scores to be settled though. That was Vicky Farfus who was being overtaken on the run down in towards Redgate Corner. I think that was Henry Cameron that went through, so that's a place lost on the previous lap for Farfus, another place lost at the beginning of this particular lap, but the leading pack of cars already up towards Coppice. The battle for 4th and 5th on the road still is raging, and Max Murray, who's there in 4th place, will probably be blissfully unaware that the car behind him has got a 5-second time penalty that will be added to the race time for Melvin Kalustian. So even if he were to get through on this lap, he would still need to pull out 5 seconds advantage. But you can see, add 5 seconds to his time, where's that going to drop Melvin Kalustian? It's going to drop him to something like 8th or 9th position. 8th position, I think it will be at this stage. So our race leader will be just heading up towards Goddard's corner any time now. Still some good fights going on down towards the bottom of the teens at this stage. Vicky Farfus still fighting away, trying to gain places, having lost a couple on the previous lap. But for Louis Goff, perfect start to the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship, powered by Sunoco Fuels. He's going to come through and claim the win in the opening round of the season with what has been a dominant victory, a very un-Ginetta Junior-like advantage all the way through. Harry Bartle, returning to the championship, comes through to finish in 2nd place. That will delight him and pace performance Sean Byrne, and the team coming through to complete the podium will be Jesse Phillips. And then it will be Max Murray on corrected times, who finishes in 4th place. 5th place on corrected times will be Daniel Oliver. and Melvin Kalustia will drop to the bottom of the top 6 based on corrected times. A spin at the final corner, I'm afraid, and needs to find a gap in the traffic to get going again is Jorn Helder. He does get the car pointing back round in the right direction, but I'm afraid for Jorn Helder that's probably going to be 9 or 10 places lost as a result of that spin. He comes through to finish in 21st place. He was running just outside of the top 10, unfortunately, but damage to finishing results, no damage to car, at least thankfully, so we'll see him back out at around about 12 for race 2 later on today. So for Louis Goff, he secures the first victory of the season. He doesn't pick up the fastest lap of the race though. That will go to the car that ultimately completed the podium. The number 26 car of Jesse Phillips will pick up the fastest lap of the race. But for Louis Goff, what he wants are the championship points, the 35 points that go to the race winner. Harry Bartle alongside him, congratulating him. 30 points for finishing in second place. 26 points will be picked up for the driver in third, and so on it diminishes down to 1 point if you finish in 20th position. So the last car that picked up a championship point would be Andrew Robinson. Let's just confirm some results for you then for the first race of the 2026 season for the Ginetta Junior Championship. Louis Goff claims the win from Harry Bartle in second place, and Jesse Phillips is there in third. Max Murray was in fourth place, ahead of Daniel Oliver in fifth place, and Melvin Kalustia was there in sixth. Noah Young was next up, ahead of Jacob Ashcroft, followed by the car of Sebastian Leish, and then it was the car of Riley Cranham that completed the top 10. As we move to 11th position, in 11th place it was the number 15 car that finished in 11th place, which is Addison Smith. One of the freshman drivers was next up, which is Bailey Doughty, and then it was going to be Vladislav Tomanchek that finished in 13th, ahead of 14th place being Devon Hagelin. 15th place was Kai Vish, then it was Vicky Farfus ahead of Henry Carter, followed by what was an intriguing race for Harrison Mackay. He was running right at the front but finished in 19th place, and just to give you the top 20, it's Andrew Robertson that finished in 20th position. There you can see the recovering car of Helder came through to finish in 21st in the end, was running inside the top 12 until that spin at the final corner. And two cars that didn't make it to the checkered flag. We lost the number 22 very early on, and also unfortunately into the pit lane we lost the 47 as well. So that's the first race of the season. Let's just have a look at some of the highlights from the race that we've just seen. So when the lights went out, it was a great start from Louis Goff. His teammate Max Murray slotting himself through into second place, but weaving around was Daniel Oliver to see what he could do, and equally Jacob Ashcroft, his teammate as well. As they went through Redgate Corner, this record number of cars all made it through the first corner, no contact at all. Nice clean driving in the early stages. There was retirement earlier on for Dominic Darling, who brought the car into the pits. The front right wheel was inspected, but whatever the problem was, I'm afraid, caused his retirement. There was also problems down at the old hairpin. Riley Cranham outbraked himself, made small contact with Josh Watts, which pitched at 22 in the gravel and into retirement. Harrison Mackay having to take to the gravel trap in avoidance, and a rather frustrated driver walks away, Josh Watts, from his stricken car in the gravel. The squabbles continued out on circuit. There was a big moment up at Coppice Corner for Andrew Robinson, who was able to recover, but that dropped him well and truly down through the order. But for our pole sitter Louis Goff, it was a lights to flag victory, and a dominant one in that, in the opening round of the 2026 Ginetta Junior Championship. So that's the first race of 3 that we've got for you today. Our second race of the day is coming up at around about 12, so you've got a chance to grab yourself some breakfast and a cup of tea. And if you can't make race 2, then why not join us for race 3, because that's coming up just before 5 o'clock this evening. From everybody here at Donington Park and the Ginetta Junior Championship, we thank you for watching this opening round of the season. The drivers are in the Parc Fermé area. I'm not sure whether we're going to get any reaction from the drivers. We'll wait and see. We will not be chatting to the drivers. They will just be getting ready for their race later on today. So we'll say goodbye for now, and we'll catch you for round 2 later on today. Goodbye.